have a special guest, primetime pro champion, the Big Bad Kaiju, Shay Edwards.
Yeah, man. What's up? What's happening?
All right, you're leading this off, Mason. Go ahead.
How did you get your nickname Big Bad Kaiju?
Well, so kaiju is actually a Japanese movie genre. Like Godzilla and all that good stuff. And in Japanese, they're called kaijus. And so everyone always calls themselves like a monster. He's like, I'm a monster or whatever. Well, I'm bigger than a monster. I'm all of them. So I call myself the Big Bad Kaiju. I call myself the king of kaijus because it's one thing to be a kaiju. It's another thing to be the king of all of them. So, and then it kind of stuck, and then we've been kind of rocking and rolling with it ever since.
Have you ever had any injuries?
None that have kept me out of the ring. I've had some playing football, like broke my pinky here, so like that one sits straight, that one doesn't. I've torn my knee playing football, but like I said, nothing outside of wrestling other than being like cut a few times. Like nothing has really kept me out indefinitely or anything. Like we had to cancel stuff like that, you know.
What is your favorite match or matches?
Oof. I tell you what, my favorite matches got me wanted me to be a wrestler. Shawn Michaels versus Shelton Benjamin, Monday Night Raw. I think they're like the second match. It was the Gold Rush Challenge, and that match, top to bottom, is to me one of the best matches I've ever seen. And I'm a sucker for like moments. You know, like no one really remembers like all of the matches, but you remember like the moments. And Shelton Benjamin springboards from one side of the ring to the other, and Shawn Michaels catches him in midair with a super kick. And it wasn't so much the move, it was the reaction from the crowd of just like, wow, that was, and ever since then I was like, I want to be a wrestler. It took me a little bit, but here I am, so I'm happy about that.
So, if you could wrestle against or with anybody, who would that person be?
Ooh, that's good. That's really good. If I could wrestle against anybody, I tell you what, if I could wrestle against anybody in their prime, I would love to wrestle Ron Simmons. Love to wrestle against Ron Simmons. A lot of stuff that I do is almost emulating off of Ron Simmons. Even like his WCW days and all that stuff, I loved it. After Ron Simmons, it would be The Rock. As a kid, he was always my guy. And then honestly, if I had a wild card, if I could wrestle Shelton Benjamin, I would really like to. I got a chance to speak with him before, and I told him he was the reason why I wanted to wrestle, and he just kind of looked at me like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah." And I told him because of that match, and he just sat there and smiled, and he just laughed. And he goes, "I never would have guessed." I'm like, ever since I saw that match, I'm like, I'm in. I'm so in. So yeah, those are my top three.
I'm going to jump in with a comment here. I think it was not Mickey Man, Joe DiMaggio.
Yeah.
He said he always gave his best every time because he never knew. Somebody could be seeing him for like the first time.
First time, right.
And same, I think, with wrestlers as well. You never know when somebody's seen you for that first time and when you're going to inspire somebody.
Yeah, exactly. So, and if you would have told me 20 years ago that I'd get to meet Shelton Benjamin and have him critique a match and shake his head, I'd call you a liar. I call you like, you were such a liar. Get out of here. You crazy man.
How does it feel to beat Billy?
Felt good. Felt really good. I get to beat anybody. It feels really good. I like winning. Winning's awesome.
I got a question. What would you have asked if that hadn't happened?
Billy would be here instead of me. Billy be sitting here, not me.
What is the difference between wrestling in the Ring of Honor dojo and regular wrestling training?
The major difference is television. Like today, about 400-500 people, like deep, loud, right? When you're wrestling in front of television, it's a little different. There's a lot more production involved. Because you'll have, let's say, 1,000 in an arena somewhere, right? Which is great, awesome. Who doesn't want to wrestle in front of 1,000 people, right? But we also got to think about the million people sitting at home. We got to make sure that they have the best, because if you're at home, you always have the best seat in the house, right? It's your house, whatever. So it's not so much of we're learning how to wrestle. It's now transitioning from wrestling in front of 500 to wrestling in front of 50,000. or 5,000 in the arena, but 5 million at home, and so on and so forth. So there's more intricacies, because now when I train, everything I do has to be big. Because the issue becomes now is, if you guys sit in front row, you get to see the small stuff, right? But does that guy in the upper deck, does he get to see the small stuff? Right. So now I have to, even the small stuff has to be big. I've done indies for so long, but so I get like, oh, I was used to doing it. It's like, no, we can't do it like this anymore. We have to now entertain the guys in the upper deck, because those guys, they bought a ticket too. You got to show what's going on. So there's so many cameras going on, and there's so many hidden microphones that you don't see that picks up everything. So a lot of that stuff we have to. It's not so much more about wrestling. It's becoming more of a production, in a sense.
So is that training with promos and things like that too?
Yeah, just training with promos. Looking and it's not looking at the camera. You got to look through the camera, because you have to assume that everybody you're talking to is holding onto their microphone, hovering over that buy button. Or you're watching it, and I need you to convince your dad, Dad, I need you to buy this because I saw Shay, and I really want to see him like punch somebody in the mouth. So I have to talk through the camera with that type of stuff. Realize, okay, there's also microphones here. I have but so much time. I'm probably going to start really getting into my communications major here. But the magic number is 7. You have 7 seconds to connect with you or to connect with you.
Wow.
If I don't connect with you guys in 7 seconds, guess what you guys are going to do? Change that channel. That's it. And this is the year of instant gratification. You have a phone, right? You have the internet in your pocket. You can do anything. You have YouTube. And if something bores you, guess what you get to do? Not watching this. On to the next one. So everyone's always vying for that attention. So we're learning ways to kind of like not only get your attention, but then keep your attention. So there's a little bit more intricacies that most places don't really teach, because most places don't know. If you're not on TV, you don't teach TV. That type of thing.
All right. Now I got a question from Jackson, because he's not here. I'm not sure if it's a question or a comment. He's a little from left field.
All right, that's fine. I love it.
So as far as I can understand, I should just have recorded him asking the question and then played it for you. He wants to know, why don't you do a gimmick like Orange Cassidy? Now, when I say a gimmick, he doesn't just mean any gimmick. He wants to know, why aren't you Orange Cassidy? Now, I don't know how. I know in terms of podcasts, there's certain questions you get asked over and over again. I'm pretty sure you've never been asked before, why don't you do Orange Cassidy's gimmick?
Because there's only one Orange Cassidy.
I would agree.
Because if he's doing it, the best thing about it, there's no one else doing it, so no one can tell him that he's wrong. Because if I did Orange Cassidy, guess what? It's like, you're not doing it right. That guy does it better than me. And I'm like, yeah, this is silly. Not doing this.
I wanted to lead off from that, though.
Yeah.
Have you had any other gimmicks? Because since the time we've seen you, it's been pretty similar character. We've seen you for like 2 years now.
Yeah. So I started off with the silver tongue just because I could just talk really well. But eventually I had to get to a point to where, okay, what can I do if I don't get the opportunity to talk? So I just have to be big, I have to be bad. So, and let the crowd kind of define that within themselves, or what that means. And it's worked. And if it works, you kind of keep doing it until it doesn't work anymore.
Of course, that makes sense. Now, if Jay was here, I would have asked him. I said, "Hey, do you remember at Crab Wrestling, Jay? When we were front row, there was no barricades.
And I almost crashed into him.
And you said, I've never put the brakes on so quick.
So hard in my life.
I was going to ask them, most nervous you've been in a wrestling ring, or the most dangerous? I don't know how to phrase it. Nervous, dangerous, craziest position you've been in?
Oh.
You know where I'm going though, right?
Yeah, the most craziest position I've ever been in was for the Scenic City, and I took a Canadian Destroyer off the top rope. I've never been more scared in my entire life, but it happened so fast that when it was over, I was like, that was awesome. I don't want to do it again, but that was awesome.
I don't think moments get much bigger than that.
No.
I think you've already...
no, yeah.
Now, I'm not sure where I saw this. I'm not sure. I know I was looking back recently. I think it was a Washington Post article.
Okay.
I think you talked about the fact that you being able to wrestle is in part because of your wife.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so my wife is my biggest supporter, hands down. She knows what a man I am, and if I want to go do something, I'm gonna go do it. And so for her, it's like either I can support him and let him go do it, or I cannot go support him. I'm gonna go do it anyway. But it's she knows that. I think after like the second time she saw me wrestle, it clicked. It's like, oh, he's good at this. And then she started understanding, like, oh, if he makes it, we make it. Which I've been like, duh. But she, like I said, she's been my biggest support. She's my biggest cheerleader. She's also my biggest critic. If something sucks, she will tell me something sucks. If I'm getting kind of pudgy, it's like, hey, you want to ease off those powdered donuts there, fat boy? No, that's the. But even still, like she has me like, hey, let's work on this. Okay, cool. So she keeps me going. Like when I do merch, I ask, hey, what do you think about this? Oh, this looks good. And then I so everything I do funnel it through her. And at the end of the day, like she eats pretty well. Because if I do well enough, she's like, can we go eat? Yeah, we can go eat.
There you go.
So
there's that motivation.
That's it.
Now, when we started MGB Wrestling Podcast, we originally focused, our first event was Nova Pro.
Yes.
That was where we first saw you.
Yes.
We saw you at Sink or Swim.
Yep.
I had to look it up because I couldn't remember who you fought. It was Cameron Action.
He was my tag partner, Chris. I can't. I knew he's a tall white guy, and then Irving Legend.
Correct.
Yes.
Chris Walter.
Yes.
So I was going to ask you what you remembered about that Nova Pro event. Because I don't think we were. I think we were just reviewing at that time. That might have been our second ever event.
Such a long show.
That was only half of it. We stayed for the evening as well.
Oh, it was so long, and I was like, why is the show so long? The match itself was okay. It was nothing. It was nothing. I write home about. I was like, but at the same time, it was like it was just me to get out of the South. So me and the wife kind of made it a weekend where we flew into Baltimore, drove into Virginia, and just spent the weekend, and that was it.
Now, it's interesting because you just got bought something by Savage Gentleman.
Yes.
I was going to talk about it. Looking back, we actually watched your match. Well, I watched your match again recently because I was looking for some other matches.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. And I watched a few matches. Some of the people on the card that day, Savage Gentleman.
Yes, that's where we first met too.
Steve Manders.
Yep.
And after that, a few less people who we've actually had here today. Darius Lockhart.
Yep.
Billy Dixon. And Jordan Blade.
Yep.
So that's going to link into. I got a little segue going on right here, Mason.
Yeah.
Fight Club a few weeks ago. We didn't even know you were going to be there.
Yeah.
So that was a surprise. What can you tell us about Trish Adora? How significant of an event is that?
It's huge. I feel as if just putting in words, I do it an injustice by trying to put into words the energy in that building. That building is not even half the size of the building we're in now. But the energy, though, could be matched. Like, everybody in here, like, you couldn't touch what was going on there. Trish winning was such a moment because it's a thing of, like, little black girls have someone to look up to. If you go back and look at those pictures, there are little girls who are just wide-eyed. Just like, what? Because growing up, as a black male, there's things that I was told I couldn't do because there was no way before me to do it. Sometimes the hardest thing we have to do as human beings is forge a trail that no one's never done before. It's one of the hardest things that you'll ever have to do because there's no roadmap, there's no work. You have to do that work. And because of that is why it's so hard. That's the reason why so many people quit, because it's hard. But for Trish to have this moment in the sun and everyone's just like, all hail the queen, it's huge for everybody, regardless of who you are. It's just look who is at the forefront of all of this. Look what she has done. Look what she's continued to do. And it's inspiring. I wish I had a little girl, just so I'm like, look at this. I hold her up like Simba, like yes. I love it. Every time I see her, I swell with pride. It has nothing to do with me at all, but I just see it. I'm like, yes, it's such a great feeling.
Even just from a wrestling perspective, I told her today, that last 5 minutes of that event holds up with anything I've ever seen anywhere.
And everybody was on their feet and against that ring.
And we saw you all come out and hit in the ring afterwards. The fans were going crazy.
It was real. It was all real,
amazing.
man. Yeah,
it was amazing. All right, last question. Last question. Last genuine question.
Yeah.
I saw, I think it was IWTV.
Okay.
You and Nick Iggy.
Yep.
You had a chicken challenge.
Yep.
Hot sauces. And I told Mason about it. I think I got to. There was supposed to be 10 questions and 10 hot sauces. I got up to 7, and you were suffering. You were eating bread.
Oof.
I never saw the end.
Oh, boy.
What happened? I assume Nick Iggy won.
No,
Did you manage to 10?
We both finished.
Oh, okay.
I'm not gonna lie.
There was some cursing after 7.
Yeah, Mason, you can't watch that, brother. That gets adult real quick. How do people do that? I don't know. I was so mad because Steve McCash, we're friends. And it really tested the minds of our friendship. Like, why would you do this to me? We're supposed to be friends.
You can drop out at any point, right?
Oh, yeah. But ain't no punk. So I was like, I'm here now. I don't want to eat these hot wings. I'm going to do it. And when I was done, I went to the bathroom and scrubbed up like I was going into surgery. Like, guy walks in the bathroom, what are you doing? I'm like, this doesn't involve you, man. As I'm putting somebody with my fingernails. Like, I just want the pain to go. Now, granted, like, after about 15 minutes, I was fine. But I'm like, you want to do it again? I'm like, you want to get punched in the face? Like, you will. But, yeah. But, no, it was fun. I mean, it ended the way it should have. I cussed Steve McCash out on tape, off tape. And then we became friends again.
All right, so being a teacher, favorite teacher?
Oh, dude, Mr. Johnson. 9th grade geography. Mr. Johnson had a way of engaging students, and really, he had a way of teaching them the way they need to be taught, because you can't always just put the square peg into the round hole. I thrived in his class, and I always have my heart for Mr. Johnson, 9th grade geography.
This is what I'm hoping. I'm hoping we're going to get some positive. And everybody I talk to, when you think about it, there's normally that one person.
Yeah, I always remember Mr. Johnson.
I thought it made sense for that one.
Yeah.
What was your favorite subject in school?
Geography. Probably because I made 100. I made 100 both semesters. And it was like, yeah, geography. I like geography. I love, like, traveling, that type of stuff. I still know the 50 states and capitals, which blows my mind. But yeah, and that's like, it's a credit to Mr. Johnson, the way he taught me. And I love that. I always have a debt to that man. And
did you do any sports during school?
Yeah. So in the fall, I did football. In the spring, I did weightlifting. And then in the, in the winter I did weightlifting. In the spring I did track. I wasn't running the 4x100. I was doing the shot put and all that good stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, and then in college I played a little bit of football in college, all that good stuff. But eventually I'm like, this is for me. And I probably dropped out of school after that, because the only reason I went to school is because I could play football. When you take away football, it's like, why am I here? And so I left. But I'm currently back in school to kind of finish up what I did start. I kind of owe it to myself, so I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? I'm going to school for free. Why not? Yeah, sure.
Do you get to meet Nyla Rose at Fight Club?
I did. It was awesome.
He was very excited.
Yeah,
it
was awesome. We had a nice little talk about everything, and so she gave me some kudos and all that good stuff, and I was very happy. You know, it's one of the things that's humbling when you get to see, when you see your peers get to eat, as I like to call it. So yeah, I did. It was fun. Yeah.
Thanks, Shay, for coming on.
Dude, thank you, buddy. Appreciate you, man. That was fun.